it's grammar time. Active and passive voice.
The active voice. When the subject does something, we use active voice. The subject of a sentence is the person or thing we talk about. Example, people sell good luck flowers. Who sell good luck flowers? People. So, people here is the subject, the doer of the action. Sell here is an active verb. It can be in different tenses. In this sentence, it's in present simple. And good luck flowers is the object, the receiver of the verb. The passive voice. It's used when the subject is not the doer of an action. We put the receiver of an action as the subject. We put the doer of an action as the object using by. In this example, we have exchanged the subject in place of the object. Let's see together. Good luck, flowers. It was the object in the active sentence. Here, it becomes the subject, the receiver. And are sold is a passive verb form. It's combined of verb to be plus past participle. It can be in different tenses. By people, it was the subject in the active sentence, and here it's changed to be the object, the doer in the passive sentences.
Let's learn together how to form the present simple passive voice.
The form am or is or are plus past participle. Let's check the examples to know how to change active sentences into passive sentences. Charles writes a letter. Here we have two steps to change from active voice to passive voice. Number one, determine the subject and the object. Number two, define the verb tense. In this sentence, Charles is the subject, the doer of the action, and writes here is the active verb, it's in present simple. A letter here is the object, it's the receiver of the action. To change this sentence into passive voice, let's exchange a letter, here the object, into a subject. We start with it. A letter is written by Charles. Here, please note that a letter is a singular word, so we use the proper form of verb to be with the letter. We say a letter is written by Charles. A letter here is the subject, and is written is the passive verb form, and by Charles is the object. Before we start a new example, let's remember our steps to change from active voice into passive voice. Number one, determine the subject and the object. Number two, define the verb tense. Charles cleans the windows. Here, Charles is the subject, cleans is a verb, active verb in present simple, the windows is the object. Okay, so if we are going to change it, we start with the windows. And note, it's a plural noun, so we use the proper verb to be with it. We say the windows are cleaned. By Charles here is the object.
To form a question in the present simple passive voice, first you should know the form, which is am or is or are plus the subject plus the past participle. Now, remember the steps, determine the subject and the object, then define the verb tense. In this example, do people grow rice in Canada? Do here is a helping verb, people is the subject, grow is the verb, rice is the object. Now to change this question into passive question, you should start with the proper form of verb to be with rice. Rice here is a singular noun, so the form should be is rice grown in Canada. Here we have another example to form a question in passive voice. Remember the rule: am or is or are plus subject plus past participle. And remember the steps: determine the subject and the object and define the verb tense. Here is the example: does Nada eat apples? Does here is a helping verb and Nada is a subject, eat is the active verb, and apples here is the object. Notice that apples is a plural noun, so we should use the proper form of verb to be with the plural noun to start the question in passive, which is are. So the question form will be, are apples eaten? Time now for the past simple passive voice.
Past simple passive voice. The form was or were plus past participle. Remember the steps to change from active voice to passive voice in the present simple? They are the same in the past simple passive voice. Number 1, determine the subject and the object. Number 2, define the verb tense. Let's check the examples. Charles wrote a letter. Charles here is the subject. Wrote is the verb in the past simple. And a letter is the object. To change it, we start with the object, a letter, and the proper form with a letter as it's a singular noun, use was written. Written here is the past participle of write. Here is the example. Charles cleaned the windows. Charles is the subject. Cleaned is the active verb in past simple. The windows is the object. And to change into passive voice, we start with the object to be subject, the windows, and note that the windows is a plural noun, so we use the proper form of verb to be in the past simple. We say the windows were cleaned. Cleaned is the past participle of the verb clean by Charles, comes at the end of the sentence as an object.
Form a question in the past simple passive voice. First, you should know the form, which is was or were plus the subject plus past participle. Again, the steps: determine the subject and the object and define the verb tense. In this example, did people grow rice in Canada? Did here is a helping verb, people is the subject, grow is a verb, and rice is an object. Rice here is a singular noun, so we use the proper form of verb to be with the singular noun, which is was. We start the question with was. Was rice grown in Canada? Here is another example for the past simple passive form. Did Nada eat apples? Did here is a helping verb. Nada is the subject, eat is an active verb, and apples is the object. If you notice, apples here is a plural noun. So to change this question into passive form, we use the proper verb to be form, which is where, with the plural noun, to be were apples eaten. You don't have all the time to write the object at the end of the passive sentence. But of course, as you notice in our lesson, that you should use by before the object if you write it. And for the subject pronoun, you should change it into object pronoun as the following. Let's form some passive questions. A plane is flown by the pilot. The pilot here is an object and it's a person. To ask about people, we use who and the helping verb. So it will be who is a plane flown by. Another example, a car is driven by Marco. A car here is the subject and it's a thing. To ask about things, we use what. What is driven by Marco? Another example, America was discovered in 1492. We would like to ask about the time. here, the proper question form is when. When was America discovered? Another example, Ferrari cars are made in Italy. Italy here is a place. To ask about a place we use where. Where are Ferrari cars made?